BOS Asset Management, LLC is a registered investment advisor. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make a recommendation, offer, or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. This is BankCents, the podcast that makes sense of all things banking. If there's something you don't understand about banking or finances, you're not alone. Our industry experts are bringing you informative and enjoyable conversations that break down bank jargon and dive into hot-button financial topics. And now, BOS, a community bank located across Illinois and Missouri, presents BankCents. Here's your host, Gregory Marantz.
Hi, and welcome back to BankCents, the podcast that makes sense of all things banking. I'm your host, Greg Marantz, Executive Vice President here at the Bank of Springfield. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about the benefits of a financial advisor versus a Robo Advisor. I'm excited to have as a guest on today, Shannon Jones, a financial advisor with a BOS Asset Management team, to guide us through this topic. Shannon, welcome.
Thank you so much, Greg. Very excited to be here today.
Yeah, thanks for coming on today. We appreciate it. Before we dive into the topic, can you give us a little bit of background about how long you've been at the bank?
Yeah, I've been here 15 years, actually in May. And most of that time I have been a financial advisor on the investment services team.
Yeah. As we dive into the topic of a financial advisor versus a robo-advisor, I felt like there's nobody better to bring on today's episode to really talk about it than yourself. And I'm really excited to dive into this. First and foremost, it's really a hot topic today in personal financials about robo-advisors versus financial advisors. So let's kind of go into it and compare it. Them to one another, how they differ, and then, expand on that a little bit more. So first, tell us what you do on a day-to-day basis. What is a financial advisor?
Sure. So obviously, the traditional financial advisor is someone like myself, a human, right? Who's working with investors on a day-to-day basis, whether that's their investment strategies, tax optimization, financial planning, in some cases, insurance, budgeting, all of those things. But it's working with a human that you're sitting down with, whether it's annually, quarterly, semi-annually, and really having the time to build that relationship and that trust with an individual advisor.
Yeah, and I want to key in on one word there, and that's relationship. And
Absolutely.
That's what we do at all BOS, not just the asset management team, but it's really focusing on that relationship with our customer and in making it more than just a transaction. So financial advisors really focus on that relationship with their customer. What's the difference, and what exactly is a robo-advisor?
So a robo-advisor is not a human. It is computer-based, using algorithms on the back end of things. And someone like yourself might go out to an online platform, answer a few key questions, and they develop a portfolio for you based on your answers, and that's it. So you kind of lose that personalization, that emotional piece of it when working with a robo-advisor.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that robo-advisors don't necessarily take into consideration is that my needs and wants are going to be different than what you need and want, and everybody has different and unique goals.
Absolutely.
That should be considered when you're planning for their future.
Absolutely.
One of the things that a robo-advisor can't do is be a fiduciary. So let's dive into talking about fiduciaries. First, for our listeners, can you kind of explain to them what a fiduciary is and what they do?
Absolutely. So a fiduciary is an individual investment advisor who has a duty and obligation to do what is in the best interest of their clients. And transparency is huge when it comes to fiduciaries.
Yeah, and in really being a fiduciary as well, I mean, there's not going to be any conflicts of interest, no hidden fees or anything that are out there. And so it's very important to have that side of it, and that's something that, unfortunately a robo-advisor can't offer to you. So speaking about the importance of the transparency of being a fiduciary, how would you suggest an individual investor goes out and finds a financial advisor and that is a fiduciary and can find what kind of fits their needs?
Sure. It's really big that an investor asks the questions. You need to ask, how are you compensated? Are you a fiduciary? And not just a fiduciary and making certain decisions all the time. Do you receive fee-based commissions? All of those things are something that you deserve to know as an individual investor. Working with a financial advisor is all about the relationship and having that trust. So to have those questions answered is key.
Yeah, and you're hitting all my buzzwords right now. We've talked about relationships and how important that is with our clients that we work with. But you also hit my other favorite thing, and don't be afraid to ask the question. We talk about that all the time on BankCents on our other episodes that cover different topics. And I think it's so important to encourage people when they're engaging a new financial advisor or with whatever piece of finance that you're engaging with, just don't be afraid to ask that question. A really good fiduciary, really good financial advisor is going to be more than happy to explain that all to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and where you compare that to a Robo Advisor, you're just plugging in some information and data, and some of those Robo Advisors, I'm sure, can do a good job of investing your fund, but they're not going to have that personalized experience that you're going to find with a financial advisor.
That's exactly right, and the emotional guidance. I always tell people too. Again, if I'm sitting down with you as an individual investor, I'm going to want to know far more than just what your investment objective is. Do you have children? Do you have elder parents? What about the market volatility? Having that emotional guidance is huge.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because, like you said, everybody's needs are different. I mean, we have customers that may have special needs children, and they might need a specialized trust, and you can help guide them in the direction that makes the most sense for them. And like we said earlier, what I might need might not fit for you and might not fit for the person next door as well.
We use that term, personalized plan, all the time when we're speaking with customers.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Shannon, I really appreciate you coming on today. Is there anything else you'd like to add to our listeners about financial advising, anything to look out for when you're there looking for a financial advisor?
So I think I'd go back to the biggest thing being ask the questions, and don't hesitate to reach out to us here at BOS just to get a little more insight as to what questions should you ask, and ask us those questions. We're more than happy to sit down with any individual, just to have that initial conversation and see if we are someone that maybe you want to work with.
Yeah, and where can they reach out to the BOS Asset Management team if they'd like to talk to somebody?
Yeah, so they can call me direct, 217-241-7143, or my email is shannon@bosassetmanagement.com, and I'd be more than happy to kind of lead them in the right way.
Great. Well, thanks again for coming on. I think a lot of this knowledge is extremely important for our listeners to understand for their financial decisions when they start, making those plans for the financial future. The differences between financial advisors and robo-advisors, if you don't really look into it, you might not understand where that difference really lies. But I think tying it in to that emotional need and how everybody has different, goals in their life, I think a financial advisor can really show you the path to financial success. And I think that's really important.
Yes.
So thanks again for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. As always, thanks for listening to BankCents, the podcast that makes sense of all things banking. Until next time.
Is there something about banking that doesn't make sense to you? Submit your questions to us on Instagram Messenger or by email, BankCents@bankwithbos.com. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, comment below. We're happy to give you our 2 cents on a wide range of topics. Thank you for listening on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And please leave us a 5-star rating and review so we can continue to bring you more educational content. Thank you for listening, and we hope you join us on the next episode of BankCents.